Pin all the way down, and I'll show you my results in a minute. Okay, so as you can see, I'm done pinching and pulling, and the garment's starting to take shape. One of the things you need to make sure that you do, whether you're putting it on yourself and pinning or you're using a dress form, is pay close attention to the straight line. See, there's a straight line right here? The straight line. So when you're pinning, you don't want to start, having your line go towards the front of the dress, because then your seams will be on the front of the dress. You have to pay close attention. So when you're pinching the front, make sure you're pinching the back at the same time, so you're keeping a straight line down the side of the dress. So as you can see, I paid close attention to when I'm pinning. When I was pinning, I usually use my thumb. So when I'm pinching, I feel the dress form, and if I'm wearing it, you feel your body. The same distance, be my thumb length, is what I usually go by. But the same distance from your body to the pinning needs to be the same on both sides. Also, cuts are permanent. Once you cut, you're stuck with what you have. So I'm going to take this to my sewing machine, and before I do any cutting, I'm going to do what's called a basting stitch. But you set on a basting stitch, which means your stitches are long. So if you make a mistake, it's easy to rip the stitch out and start over. But you haven't cut anything, so nothing's permanent. So I'm going to do a basting stitch down my pins. And if you're not comfortable, going over your pins, it matters how you pin, you can take a chalk, which I don't have one right here available with me. Take a chalk and mark a straight line over each one of your pins, and you can stitch along the line. But if you do it on the front, you're going to want to also do it on the back so that you know how much you pinched. So if you're going to do a chalk line on the front, make sure you do a chalk line on the back so that when you're pinching and sewing, you're staying on that line that you just created with your pins. So I usually leave my pins in. So we're going to make a basting stitch down the side, and then we're going to try it on. If that fits, then we can start cutting and putting permanent stitches in. Okay, so excuse my mess here. So I put in the basting stitches, I tried on, put on the dress form, then I put it on myself, and I noticed that I still have to take in a little bit more. I made the bottom length too wide. So my stitch, because dress forms stop at the hips, I couldn't see this part. This part's too wide for me. So I still need to take it in a little bit. I'll be doing the hook and eye, the latches right here to hold this shut and pin those seams down. But as you can see how it kind of flares right out. So I'm going to go back. That's the good thing about the basting stitch. I can make even additional changes. So I'm going to take it in a little farther here, and I make it in on the sides a little bit more. But you can see the dress is taking shape. So, but once again, I don't have a straight, I want it straight down. I want it more fitted. So that's the nice thing about basting stitches. I can make the changes, and nothing's permanent. So until I actually start making the cuts. But it's taking shape. Next step. Okay, so as you can see, I've made all my changes, and I have it to fit the way I want. These bunches right here is basically because I have so much material wadded up in here. Look at that. So from folding it and sewing it. But I have it fit the way I want. And the nice thing is, remember I told you, don't cut. Now my shirt's all untucked. Don't cut until you have it the size you want. You're going to see why. Because it's better to be big than too small. It's a lot less work. But you're going to see that, look at how many adjustments I made. I made 2 on one side, and on the other side, oh, you're going to laugh, 3 times. I made 3 times. I had to go back in and make it smaller and smaller and smaller. You see, 3, 1, 2, 3. I had to go in and keep making it smaller. And so since I didn't cut the material, it wasn't permanent. So I could keep adjusting until I got it the way I want. Now the next step is to cut the material, remembering what your last line is, your smallest line where you want your seam to be. You're going to cut, give it about 5/8 of an inch so that you have seam allowance, and then we're going to make a permanent stitch right along your basting stitch, and your basting stitch will pull out later. and go right next to your basting stitch, almost right on it. If you go exactly on it, it's hard to remove it, so go right next to it. Make sure you don't have any puckering, because when you're adjusting that much material, sometimes you might have a wrinkle, and if you sew over a wrinkle, you'll have a pucker on your dress, so make sure it lays flat as you're sewing. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back on the dress form, cut off the excess material, and put in my permanent stitch, and then I'll be right back. Okay, now I've cut off my excess material, and it was quite a bit of material that I had to cut off just to make this dress fit. That's why it felt kind of bunchy, you know, before when I had it pinned. But I cut off all the excess material, so I have my one basting stitch down the side. And now what I'm going to do is use a straight stitch. This is not a stretchy material. If you're using like a knit, some type of stretch material, you're going to want to make sure you use a zigzag stitch. Because if you don't have a serger, a zigzag stitch will keep your material from one fraying. But two, it also, if you pull on a straight stitch with a stretchy fabric, it will snap the stitches. So if you're using a stretch fabric, you know, not everybody's going to have the same as me. So if you're using a stretch fabric, the key, make sure you use a zigzag stitch. And if you are using, like this is not a stretchy material, then I can use a straight stitch. So I'll be using a straight stitch all the way down my seams, and then I'll be back. And I'm going to show you what I did. Now, since we did leave the seams the same as, because they're commercially done with the serger, we did keep those the same. So all we need to do now to make them nice and neat is we're going to roll them twice. Now I have my garment inside out. Make sure you're working inside out, because you don't want the hem to be on the outside and show the stitching. So inside out the garment, roll it twice, once, twice, and then usually I use my chair as a pin cushion. I have pins all over my chair, but I use them all up. Okay, then you're going to pin. By doing it twice gives you a nice neat edge. So you're going to go all the way around the shirt, roll, fold under, and then roll again so you have a nice edge. I'll show it close up in just a minute. And then you pin, and you're going to do that all the way around the shirt. And let me show you one that's close up. It's neater. So let me take a pin out here and show you. Let me put it in my chair. Okay, so you can see there's the commercial edge. See, so I just folded it down one, folded it again. So nice and neat. And I take my pin and I pin it in place. I'm using a straight stitch. Even if you're using a knit, your arms don't stretch that much. You can use a straight stitch on a sleeve. You don't have to use a zigzag. Okay, to pretty much summarize what we've done, we took a dress or blazer that was a size 26 and sized it down to approximately, size 6, size 8. We removed the sleeves, both sleeves. We rolled twice and hemmed. We sized down by doing the pinch and pin. So we squeezed it tight. We pinned all the way down, making a straight line down the sides. Didn't have to do anything as far as hemming the bottom because I didn't take any length off it. This is the regular commercial hem that was put on by the manufacturer, so that kind of saved me a step. So basically there was only a few steps involved with this project. Okay, let's see how this is going to look. I hope you like my project, and I look forward to doing another one next week. Some projects will be brand new designs, and some will be refashioning, existing garments like I did today. So if you have any questions, please email me, make a comment. I'll get back to you with the answers the best that I can, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Okay, thanks so much. Until next week. Bye-bye.